Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to this minicast that I have titled BrainNet, the Hive Mind Network. Why? Well, a lot of information has come out recently regarding the fact that these people have developed a literal device hooking up 3 brains at once. I figured with all the recent hysteria going on, you know, with Antifa, the Kavanaugh hearings, and all the other stuff that you see happening within mainstream media, it's important for us to take a step back and really look at not only how these people have the ability to read your mind, control your mind, condition your mind, brainwash your mind, but also have things such as psychotronic warfare. They also have the brain chips. They're completely aware of your third eye and much more. We really have to take a step back and look at the types of things, the devices that these people have at their disposal. And with that being said, let's start the show. As I said before, this minicast is titled BrainNet, the Hive Mind Network. Yeah, that's right. The Defense Advanced Research Project Agency literally figured out a way to connect your mind with someone else's. Now, before we get into this, I think it's important that we kind of we ask the question, how do we get here? How are we talking about, oh man, they have figured out how to connect minds? You see, well, if you've paid attention, you know, we've talked about how people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and a few other people, you know, how they've kind of been involved with this type of technology to basically do that, to create a social media network of the mind. Now, whenever I say information's come out regarding the ability to connect 3 different minds together, and let me make a correction. I said it was the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, but it was actually a group of scientists at the University of Washington. I'm not really sure what the difference is, but just for clarification's sake, the point is this: the ability to manipulate your mind. Things like MK Ultra, that's now passé. We have to understand we're in the future now, okay? This is why 5G, this is why technology, this is why everything that we are dealing with today is so important. So before we get into this, I want to play a quick clip for you guys of Regina Dougan, the former head of DARPA, ironically enough, who is now working for Facebook for their controversial Building 8, trying to actually figure out how to translate your mind into text. Let's take a listen.
Your brain. Your brain has 86 billion neurons that fire 1,000 times per second. Now, they don't all fire at the same time, so let's decrease that by a factor of 100. That would mean your brain is capable of producing about 1 terabit per second. About 40 HD movies are streaming in your brain every second. Now, if you haven't had your coffee yet, you might be moving about 10 times slower, so let's just say it's 4 HD movies every second. And herein lies the problem. How do I get all of that information out of my brain and into the world? What are my choices? Well, I'm speaking to you right now, and I'm transmitting at about 100 bits per second. That's the bandwidth equivalent of a 1980s dial-up modem. So, here's what we have. 4 HD movies per second streaming over a 1980s dial-up modem. Speech is essentially a compression algorithm, and a lossy one at that. So, what if you could type directly from your brain? Think of it more like this. You take many photos, you choose to share some of them. Similarly, you have many thoughts. You choose to share some of them. We're talking about decoding those words, the ones you've already decided to share, by sending them to the speech center of your brain. A silent speech interface, one with all the speed and flexibility of voice, but with the privacy of typed text. Now, Mark Chevalier is the lead for this effort. He's a physicist, neuroscientist, and 6 months ago, he had the idea that this might be possible. Today, we've assembled a team of more than 60 scientists, engineers, and system integrators. They specialize in machine learning methods for decoding speech and language, in optical neuroimaging systems that push the limits of spatial resolution, in the most advanced neural prosthetics in the world. And we're just getting started. Together, we have a goal of creating a system capable of typing 100 words per minute, 5 times faster than you can type on your smartphone, straight from your brain. So let
that sink in for a second. There's a lot of different things to kind of break down there. The fact that they are literally trying to create, as I said before, this system that allows you to type 5 times faster than on your smartphone. Some kind of silent speech text technology. But don't worry, I have another clip lined up for you guys that kind of goes over the same type of things, the same kind of concept that somehow with our limbic system that we're not able to communicate as efficiently as we need to. As Regina Dougan said, right now we're currently communicating on a 1980s modem whenever we should be able to communicate at many other levels. But here, let me play this clip for you guys and let me know what you think.
All those things, the sort of primal drives. There's all the things that we like and hate and fear. They're all there on the internet. They're a projection of our limbic system. It's true.
No, it makes sense. And the thinking of it as a, I mean, thinking of corporations and just thinking of just human beings communicating online through these social media networks as some sort of an organism that's it's a cyborg. It's a combination. It's a combination of electronics and biology.
Yeah.
This is
in some measure, like the success of these online systems is sort of a function of how much limbic resonance they're able to achieve with people. The more limbic resonance, the more engagement.
Whereas, like, one of the reasons why probably Instagram is more enticing than Twitter.
Limbic resonance.
Yeah, you get more images, more video.
Yes.
It's tweaking your system more.
Yes.
Do you worry about or wonder, in fact, about what the next step is? I mean, a lot of people didn't see Twitter coming, that, you know, communicate with 140 characters or 280 now would be a thing that people would be interested in. Like, it's going to excel, it's going to become more connected to us, right?
Yes, things are getting more and more connected. They're, at this point, constrained by bandwidth. Our input-output is slow, particularly output. Output got worse with thumbs. You know, we used to have input with 10 fingers, now we have thumbs. But images are also, they're a way of communicating at high bandwidth. You take pictures and you send pictures to people. That communicates far more information than you can communicate with your thumbs.
So what happened with you where you decided, or you took on a more fatalistic attitude?
He's talking about memes.
Was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems like a scene in a movie where the robots are going to fucking take over, and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to answer that, and I'll let Elon do that his way. But I just wanted you guys to understand that they are trying to figure out ways to use your body to be more absorbed into this system. And with that being said, let me look at this article right here and get this up for you guys. This is from Mysterious Universe. We put this up October 1st. It's by Brett Tingley. It says, scientists develop BrainNet, the social network for telepathic brains. The world's first social network for brains has been created by a group of scientists at the University of Washington, allowing an unprecedented level of communication directly between users' connected brains. The system uses standard EEG equipment to detect and analyze brain activity in one user's brain, after which a technique known as transcranial magnetic stimulation induces similar electrical activity in certain areas of another user's brain. Used together, these two processes allow for signals to be sent directly to and from user's brain. Is the world of physical interaction doomed? Now, before I continue on with this article, I want to talk about what that actually means. They're trying to tell you that they have the ability to send information from one person's brain to another. And one of the examples they go over is the fact that they have a pilot, a commercial pilot and a military pilot. They're able to teach the commercial pilot much more advanced military skills or abilities or flight patterns by connecting the military pilot's brain to the EEG scanner and then just sending over those thoughts. Now that's a very simple and rudimentary way, right? A very, very simple way to just get people to have information uploaded to their brain. But we've been following this for a while. This isn't something that just kind of popped up in the news. As I said before, you've got to understand that there are people in the past or who have been working on this who understand what's actually going on. So to kind of dial it back, let's talk about these types of things. Why are we talking about information sharing? Why are we talking about what's going on with our brains, what's happening with humanity? To a certain degree, and I've always believed this, to a certain degree, we have been deliberately dumbed down through things like the mainstream media, what we think of as entertainment, food, chemtrails, chemicals in the water and the food, everything else, to have us at a certain level of subservience, right? And now you see them introducing this, hey, let's all connect our brains together, right? Hey, let's all link up. But before we go down that path, let me point out what I mean by this. Humans are getting dumber. IQ points are dropping by 7 points with each new generation. Drugs, alcohol, and suicide killing so many young Americans that the country's average lifespan is failing. Now, that first article was from World Truth TV. We put this up October 5th. That second one was from Skywatch TV, and they put that up October 4th. What I'm trying to talk about is, again, the fact that they are deliberately pushing these things onto us so that we do not think about our health, we don't think about our lifestyle, we don't think about, again, how we're being affected, how we're deliberately being dumbed down. Here's another article for you guys from Waking Times. This is by Sayer G of GreenMed Info. We put this up October 8th. It says antidepressants cause severe withdrawal symptoms like hallucination, mania, and anxiety. And this is revealed in a new study. You have to understand that these people know what they're doing. When they say when they say certain things, right? When they act certain ways, when they say when they zig versus zag, they understand what they're doing. A perfect example of this is what we saw with the Kavanaugh hearings with Christine Blasey Ford. There is a thing such as group hypnosis and mass hysteria. These things definitely happen, and they're able to be done. I didn't go over this in the episode, but let me pull up this document for you guys. It's dated in July 2008. Meditation with yoga, group therapy with hypnosis, and psychoeducation for long-term depressed mood, a randomized pilot trial. Now, just think about this, all right? Just think about this. There it is, Christine M. Blasey, one of the authors. What we're beginning to talk about is, again, how these people know what they're doing. These are the technocrats. These are these people who are beholden to nothing, right? I talked about this earlier today. These technocrats, this is why they're doing all this DMT and all these other drugs. They don't. They take optical drugs. It's crazy. It's like drugs that you just like distill down into like a little dropper, and then you put it in your eye, and then you're just doing like liquid versions of LSD. When I talked about this earlier today, how these are the new royalty. And this ties into everything that's going on and why it's important. These are the new royalty. These are the new Hollywood. These are the new politicians. They are beholden to nobody. They literally crush and crumble governments, right? Governments request them to help squash their people. and we're seeing this in so many different ways. But what's going on in Silicon Valley is a merger between, as I've termed it, techno-sorcery. Who is telling these people to build these things? While they're being dosed up, while they're having all these orgies, while they're doing all these types of sexual things, and I'm sure ritualized things to a degree as well, what kind of information are they bringing back from these types of trips? This is something you've seen me touch on whenever we talk about them trying to, Peter Thiel of PayPal, trying to legalize magic mushrooms, or even Monsanto and Bayer being involved in things like medical marijuana. These are supposed to be tools that are medicines that are supposed to be used for enlightenment or at least some kind of relief. What happens whenever you have the people who at the top, who are literally harvesting some of the world's best drugs, creating new drugs for new revelations? You see, they themselves feel as if they have been given the power of gods. And so you have to ask the question, what are they doing? They're trying to squelch out what they think of as dissent. You see, if everybody's sharing the same kind of mind, and this is when we start to talk about the collective consciousness and everything that they're trying to create, the hive mind, the brain net, if everything is connected to that, you wouldn't want to have some kind of negativity, right? Somebody that's respecting or understanding of duality would understand that you have to have negativity to appreciate the light, and vice versa. But because these people feel as though they have been given the powers of God, they abuse it. My point is this. Let me get into this article right here for you guys, so we can just get back into things. What we really have to understand is the fact that these people know how to literally control our minds. Here's a perfect example. Look at this kid Boo receiving an RFID chip.
Once he injects it, you can't keep the muscle flat.
In there. Whew. That wasn't so bad. It was a slight pinch. Yeah, put your finger in there. We're done. People just got a secret investor.
I'm sure.
He requested I be microchipped.
No, I'm sure.
And he requested I give you guys a quick message. Paradism. For those of you who don't know, be aware. We all need to fight the good fight to free mankind and give job to robotics. A world without money, a world without government.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump on that real quick. What is he talking about? Freedom, paradiso, freeing humanity, a world without money. But he's saying this as he gets the RFID chip. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Psychotronic warfare, implantable chips. You don't think that now, because he has some kind of radio frequency identification chip, that now they're able to hijack this type of symbol or this type of signal to feed him some kind of thoughts. Unfortunately, we've heard about that way too many times. Look at how many times have we heard about people who have been victims of that, who have been victims of this type of remote mind control gone awry, where they said, I have a chip in my brain and it is telling me to do all kinds of evil and wicked things. Here, check this out. We put this up literally earlier this year from your Newswire. Put this up April 19th. Homeland Security releases records on remote mind control. The United States Department of Homeland Security has accidentally released, air quotes, accidentally released records on its remote mind control project as part of a FOIA request on extremist groups. Washington State Fusion Center, a counterterrorism branch of DHS, released a file named EM Effects on Human Body.zip, which outlines the effects of remote mind control on unsuspecting members of the public. Now think about that. Remote mind control. They even have it down here. At 10 hertz, that's whenever they can start messing with your motor control cortex, your auditory cortex at 15 hertz, your visual cortex at 25 hertz, and then your somatosensory at 9 hertz, and then your thought center at 20 hertz. So we're talking about, again, these people having access to remote control technologies, remote mind control technologies, brain chips, psychotronic warfare, the ability to literally translate your thoughts into texts and more. But you don't think that they could radicalize the public after they've been so drugged up, dumbed down, and put on antidepressants to go out there and commit these types of crazy things? Remember, too, and this just breaks down, you know, how these people have all kinds of crazy formulas for this type of stuff. They know what they're doing. Like Regina Dougan said, you know, your brain right now is processing stuff at the speed of a 1980s modem. They're trying to figure out how to get it out there, how to have more information. How this plays in the part, to kind of touch on things real quick. Remember how we talked about these people operating off of depressants, right? They understand that once they get you depressed, that's whenever you're easily manipulated. And that's basically what social media was designed to do. It was designed to have you compare yourself, to have unrealistic expectations, and then not live a real life. Like here, let me play for you guys Sean Parker, one of the founders of Facebook, questioning the impact of Facebook. This is something that he created, and he's questioning, did we do the right thing? He knows that they gave you a little dopamine hit every time you get a like. This is just one form of the Pavlovian social conditioning, or the Pavlovian conditioning, the social engineering that's going on. Let's take a listen.
Entrepreneur Sean Parker says he's not sure how much Facebook is benefiting society. Parker was the founding president of Facebook when the company started over a decade ago. He recently made some very jarring comments about social media exploiting the vulnerabilities in human psychology during a conversation with Axios. Here's what he had to say.
You know, if the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them to really understand it, that thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, you know, more likes and comments. I mean, it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And I think that the inventors, creators, you know, and it's me, it's Mark, it's Kevin Systrom at Instagram, it's all of these people, understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
All right.
And then he goes on to laugh about it. Ha ha ha, we exploited human psychology. Ha ha ha, look at us, we figured out how to get people literally doped up and dependent upon social media to where they don't feel like they're a real person unless they get those likes and that validation. Ha ha ha, look at us literally ushering in a brain dead population that doesn't know how to think for itself unless it's being told to by its phone. You see, you have to really take a step back and understand what these people are trying to do. So right now, we are already online. Right now, we are already operating in one phase of their overarching plan. I've termed it the beta Borgs, the concept of them literally introducing us into this type of technology. But the eventual goal is to do just that, to where we are fully uploaded into this matrix. As I played for you, Elon Musk is aware of this. He's come up with a clip, or he's come up with a company, his neural link company, where they have the neural lace, where it literally connects you to a computer. But as I said before, let's take a step back. Remember when I was talking about how intoxicated on power Silicon Valley could be? I've talked about this before. What happens when Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is able to absorb all of the, not wisdom and knowledge, but information of the millions and millions of different Facebook profiles? Would he, in theory, be a god? Would he share that information with us? Would we have access to this? You see, what's happening right now is they're figuring out ways to filter out dissident information or subversive content, so to speak. I truly do believe that there is already some kind of sentient AI or some kind of sentient being, so to speak, within the internet. All that's really happening right now is that they're mimicking the already existing internet that humans have technologically. This is again what I mean by the techno-sorcery aspect of it. You have to understand who is telling these people to build these types of things. What is the purpose of this? Is it for unity? Okay, well then who controls the unity? Who controls the collective consciousness? You see, at what point do we have to ask the question of what's being added into this? We're literally walking headfirst into some unknown future created by Google. You see, this is something I kind of talked about. You know, it came out briefly, and I don't think it got a lot of attention because it really kind of it tripped people out. It didn't really get a lot of attention because it kind of exploited again, or it pointed out how Google is involved with much more than people think, and people aren't giving it its credit. Google is involved in evolution. What's happening now is we're seeing how technology is taking over bit by bit. It's absorbing us, and whenever we give it more of this information, this BrainNet that these University of Washington scientists and the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, yeah, I checked. They actually have one as well, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA. They have one as well, except their chip, it just controls swarms of drones. Oh, I'm sorry, you know, it's it wasn't what I thought it was. It was something worse. But let me play this clip for you guys of a leaked internet video, or a leaked internal video of Google's selfish ledger. Let's take a listen.
This man is Jean-Baptiste Pierre Antoine de Monet Chevalier de Lamarck. In 1809, 50 years before Darwin published The Origin of the Species, he wrote what is widely recognized as the first comprehensive theory of evolution. His book, De Philosophie Zoologique, introduced the notion of an internal code within every living thing, which, when passed down through successive generations, defined the physiological characteristics of a species. At the center of Lamarck's theory laid what he called the adaptive force. He believed that the experiences of an organism during its life modified this internal code, and upon reproduction, this modified version was passed down to its young. Whilst not biologically accurate, and ultimately superseded by Darwin's theory of natural selection, the epigenetic theories put forward by him are beginning to find new homes in unexpected places. When we use contemporary technology, a trail of information is created in the form of data. When analysed, it describes our actions, decisions, preferences, movement, and relationships. This codified version of who we are becomes ever more complex, developing, changing, and deforming based on our actions. In this regard, this ledger of our data may be considered a Lamarckian epigenome, a constantly evolving representation of who we are.
Now, the reason I wanted to pause it right there is because the whole idea is that the whole idea behind playing that clip for you guys is to show that they are literally trying to figure out ways to input more data, input more information whenever you do not have what the AI formulas are looking for. This is why they're trying to deploy the algorithms upon us. Now imagine, and this is why you've got to think about the mark of the beast style system being implanted with one of these RFID chips and everything else that comes with that. Imagine that they release the same kind of algorithm that they have out right now that elites or censors conservatives and liberals. You see, what happens whenever you just become a target of a unknown source and everybody's denying acknowledgement of it? You see, I remember reading in the news years ago of this thing called Stuxnet, to where some country sent a worm virus to shut down it's some radiation facility, some nuclear power plant, and the way that the code worked is it was so sophisticated that it was able to show that everything was running fine while slowly messing with all the internal sensors and everything inside of the actual laboratory to where it almost blew the place up. Now imagine being on the receiving end of that. You're working perfectly fine, but you don't understand that you have a virus inside of you. This is only one aspect of how these types of things could work. People have to understand that the BrainNet, the concept of this, the hive mind, that's the whole point of getting us on the internet, is so that they can create a intranet that they can have control over. This is much deeper than I think a lot of people understand, and more information is going to come out about this. I just wanted to take the time to point this type of stuff out, to realize that these people, and to highlight, to put it out here, and to understand that these people are literally taking the time to figure out how to control your mind. It's much deeper than just MK Ultra. It's much deeper than just brainwashing. You see, it's much deeper than the mark. It's things like remote mind control. This is why they have fed us so many pills. This is why they have people stuck on hydrocodone, Oxycontin, Percocets, Zoloft, you name it. This is why they just want us drugged out and addicted, so that they can come through with these fake solutions and really just dumb us down. You have to understand the end goal is subservience, not liberation. And a lot of things that they offer are just that, snake oil, and you have to call it out. But we'll keep an eye on this as this story develops. This is the Hive Mind Network. However, that's all I really have for you guys and gals. I know I kind of went all over the place and jumped to a lot of different topics. I just wanted to illustrate the kind of world that we're moving into. So when we talk about the mass hysteria that's popping up, why is it happening? People don't understand why it's happening. They have figured out a way to literally remove your inhibition and act upon it. They have the ability to broadcast frequencies into your mind. And now they want you to be able to upload it to some kind of social media network so that you can continue to communicate with all kinds of people. However, that's all I've got for you guys and gals. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys and gals, stay vigilant, expose lies and share truth. This is Noisera, Freedom Faction, out.